Everybody, Matt Hill here at the, today we're at the Night Fire Research and Development and Shop, and, our offices here in Oklahoma City. And man, I'm fortunate to continue to do this podcast to hopefully highlight my amazing friends in the oil and gas industry and what they do and bring to the table and keep our lights on and affordable, reliable, and abundant energy for you at home so that you can even watch this on your iPhone. Everything's made by petroleum products.
That's right.
Introduce yourself, buddy.
My name's Josh McCollom with Pharoah Energy Services. Matt, thanks a lot for having me on to visit today.
Thanks for being my next victim.
Yeah, man, you're always willing to have guys on and let us talk about our companies and what we're doing out here. So
vital. You're vital to the world.
Well, you're vital to helping us get our information.
I hope so. I made
the most connected man in the oil patch.
I made a list this week. This is a funny story. So 2 days ago, Mark LaCour, another podcast, oil and gas guy, right? So on LinkedIn, it says, hey, here's this list of, these top 100 oil and gas podcasts. And he tagged me, I was like, did I make a list? Like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to make a list.
You made the list. You should be on the list.
So all day long, I'm excited. I make this long drippy post, because I'm sentimental, to everything and everybody in the oil field. You guys are my family. And so all day long, I'm just skipping along. Like, I made a list, I'm on the top 100 list of podcasts, yada, yada, yada. And I knew it was a really good Monday. That should be right. Like something's amiss here. Why is everything going so great? I made a list, we have fire suppression systems going out all over the country into oil and gas and cement trucks and yada, yada. So at the end of the day, I go and sit on my back porch, a little brown water in me, looking out the lawn and the sunset. And I'm like, man, what a great day. I think I'll hop on LinkedIn one more time to pat myself on the back. And right at the top, Colin from Digital Wildcatters said, these lists are so stupid. Everybody pays to be on them. And I'll never pay to put Digital Wildcatters on this, who's who of American high school students. And I went, oh man.
Hey, we all need humbled every once in a while, right?
Smashed. I laughed. I called Chuck Yates up. I said, Chuck, tell your boy and my boy that hurt. He goes, that wasn't directed at you, right? It was just like, it's Colin being Colin. I said, I know, but I was like, I am in tears laughing at this because I remember, I don't know if any of y'all have had this experience, but my mom paid to have me put into the who's who of American high school students. I didn't know that.
Of course, that's what moms do.
Years later, I find out, because I see this book at her house. I'm like, oh, I remember this. I made who's who of American high school students. It's like I carried that book around with me in my backpack. I'd let all the bullies hit me with it. Like, don't pick on me. I'm in who's who. And they say beat me with that book over and over. And I'm like, man, what the hell? Are you kidding me, Mom? You paid for me to be in that? So same feeling of just like the wind just got sucked out of my sails today. Thank you.
It happens.
That cracks me up.
We all need humbled every once in a while.
I'm humbled every day by my, just like, I don't know, naivety of the world.
My wife keeps me pretty humble. She reminds me who the boss is when I get home. So
yeah.
Always good.
I know you're special, but I don't think your wife knows how special you are. She doesn't bow to you when you walk in like I would assume.
Almost 23 years, so we're doing good. She keeps me in line pretty much. So
in all the baseball games and the kids, and
that's right.
The second you get home, your husband and dad, you're not big time.
Yeah, that's true.
Where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in Roosevelt, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Wasn't a lot of oil and gas activity there. Went to school at Southwestern. Kind of family fell victim to the whole farming crisis of the 1990s and ended up, Dad goes a different route, and so didn't have a family farm to go back to after college, and so go to work for a food company in Enid. Hated it.
I loved Enid though.
Enid's a good town, but just didn't like working indoors. It was 30 degrees in there. Processed. We made Philly steak, advanced food company up there. But
delicious.
Friend of mine, Ryan Bell, calls me one day. He says, hey, this company's starting up in Elk City called Weatherford, and they're going to be fracking. And he goes, they're hiring engineers, and you need to call this guy and see if you can get an interview. So I said, what in the world is frac? He's like, I'm not real sure. I've only been here for a week. He was the safety guy. He said,
love it.
We have a whole bunch of trucks, and he goes, we have a bunch of red pump trucks, and we go out and we pump sand and water and oil wells. And I said, I don't know anything about it. And so anyways, I called this guy, and 3 days later, I'm on a plane flying to Houston and meet lunch with these guys down in Houston, and they said, well, what do you know about the oil and gas industry and frac? I said, absolutely nothing. I said, I found out what frac was about 3 days ago from Ryan Bell. They said, you're just the guy we're looking for. Yeah. When can you start?
You're a blank canvas, an empty slate. I mean, what a great platform to build you up on.
Yeah, so anyways, I started there in 2003 in Elk City, and that's where I met a bunch of guys I still keep in touch with. Stephen Knight was working there at the time, also SWASU grad. And anyway, so that's kind of where I got my start, and it seemed to be a supernatural fit. I think just being used to machinery and stuff on the farm and everything kind of working as one unit to get a job done, it all made sense to me. And
you didn't have to become an engineer that was going to go be destined to sit in a cubicle.
No, that was definitely not me. So I worked there for about 5 years.
No one's putting you on ice.
Yeah.
So I crowbarred a joke in there. I'm sorry, buddy.
That's fine.
30 degrees. I had one coming in there eventually.
So I worked at Weatherford for about 5 years, and then we were handling. I was handling the Chesapeake account out in western Oklahoma, and one of their asset managers, John Reinhardt, we were eating lunch one day, and he said, "Hey, we've got an opening. Why don't you come work over here at Chesapeake?" I kind of thought he was joking at first, and that afternoon he sends me an offer letter, and so I left Weatherford, did 7 years at Chesapeake, followed Aubrey over to American Energy Partners, which was fun.
You worked with Stephen at Chesapeake too, then, right? About the same time he was there too.
Yep.
So everybody was there.
Yeah, everybody, it seems like. So followed Aubrey in 2014. They bought Calyx Energy up in Stillwater, and kind of got their foot back in Oklahoma.
I remember Matt.
And anyways, that was a fun ride, getting that deal up and going, and bought a bunch of wells from Devon up there, and that company was just growing like wildfire, and then kind of come to a screeching halt when Aubrey passed away, and company kind of started going downhill a little bit, and I ended up leaving about 2 months before they filed bankruptcy. Went to work for another fracking acid company out of Blackwell, and did a stretch with them, and then 2 months ago.
You heard, this is your first time to showcase
first
yourself.
time. So 2 months ago, I went swap companies and signed on for what I hope is a permanent gig with Pharoah Energy Services, working with Ryan Sanders and Casey Hayes, two up and coming bright guys in the oil patch. And so here I am, and it's pretty exciting. We got a lot of stuff going. We're growing extremely fast. It's fun, kind of hold on and watch out kind of mentality. And
I've got a ton of questions already.
Ton of questions
already.
So that's where I'm at now. With Pharoah, we're based out of Velma, Oklahoma. So Casey's hometown down there, and got a facility down there. And we just purchased a facility in Hennessy, Oklahoma, and we're closing on that this week, and we'll be opening up shop up there. And so we'll have a southern Oklahoma and kind of a northern central Oklahoma facility, and getting guys hired on and trying to get our name out there with people. So that's me.
Well, there's so much more to him. I'm gonna peel back. I'm gonna peel back all the onion layers, because at night when he and I are sipping brown water, we talk to each other, and we're hoping that at some point in the future we have a more after dark podcast where we tell real stories.
That's when we have all the good ideas.
We black out people's faces, hide their voices, and go change them. Tell it like it is.
That would be pretty cool.
Or embellish the truth. We love stories in here. They don't have to be truthful in any shape or form. They just have to be a good story, right?
Yeah,
I think that's fair.
Every good story has a little bit of truth in it.
Right. So, just like you came into frac and you were going down there to meet with them in Houston, and you're all, skippy at that age, like I can do anything and don't know anything going forward. So, to an audience out there, maybe we'll catch some student, that's in engineering right now. What does your company do, and how do they do it? Explain just like a little bit of, everything that goes on.
So we're a frac and acid company. So we will do different jobs on different oil and gas wells. We do a lot of new completion work where we stimulate the well for the first time, and those jobs vary depending on the engineer that designs the job, from slick water, cross-link jobs. We pump CO2. And then we do a lot of acid treatments too, skin treatments on wells, and boost production and vertical wells. Sometimes just cleaning up cement that's left over. So we do a very wide array of stuff, and we open toe sleeves. We have pump down services too. So pretty much anything you could do with the pump in the oil and gas industry, on the pressure pumping side, we do some form or fashion of it. Currently, we've worked in 4 different states, so Kansas, Oklahoma, New Mexico,
you're
and
not
Texas.
siloed in Oklahoma.
No, not siloed in Oklahoma. Had a crew working in New Mexico. Done a lot of work down in Texas, South Texas. Some work up in Kansas, and then here in Oklahoma, southern.
Call Josh. You'll go to any basin he's needed.
That's right. Those trucks have wheels, and they can ride down the road. So
I'm continually fascinated. I would assume that about 95% of the population of the United States has no clue what fracking is whatsoever. They've heard the name.
Well, I can tell you
they see a rig in there and call that the fracking machine.
That's what I was saying. When the seismicity stuff started happening in, when was it, 2000?
A few years back.
Yeah, a few years back. I was watching Channel 9 News, and the headline was a fracking rig, near Guthrie, Oklahoma, was on the news, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, that's a drilling rig.
I mean, this is why we do this. If we, as a state who is, relying on oil and gas as pretty much our main industry, and I would say that branches out into, if there is an industry on the planet, you rely on oil and gas because you need energy, and ours is the most reliant and abundant. And we are not doing a good enough job at education. We are not hitting every single child in our school systems from birth to death on, hey, this is not magic fairy dust that you get from the wall socket. This is everything you see is reliant on those guys out there and the shale revolution and being able to go and drill horizontally and then frac formations and then get more oil and gas resources into that pipe, and then when those start to decline, go out and do refracs and acid jobs and continually do our very best to get every last molecule of those hydrocarbons out of that one hole we drilled.
That's right. So in case anybody's listening that has zero idea of what fracking actually is, if you drill a well and you don't frack it, there's pretty much no sense in drilling it, at least in Oklahoma. There's places in Alaska and in Saudi Arabia that, and in the Gulf that you can drill wells and maybe not have to frack them. But without fracking them, the oil and gas pretty much can't get to the wellbore. So it's an extremely vital, part of the oil and gas operation and industry as a whole. And it's a pretty fun part of the industry to be in. A lot of moving parts. I grew up, like I said, on a farm, and so a lot of horsepower, big diesel engines. There's just something.
Incredible amount of horsepower.
You get 16 or 18, 2,500 horsepower frac pumps rolling at the same time, working together. It's pretty amazing.
It's a nice place it's a nice place to take a nap in your truck on your time off. Like it lulls you to sleep. It's like you're riding on a train or something.
So, and the only reason I brought that up, there's a lot of people that aren't in our state. They think, well, we can just outlaw fracking. We can keep drilling wells, but we're just going to outlaw fracking because, and I think that I'm going to get a little bit political here, but I really think that,
political as you like.
I really think that they attacked the frac industry because people don't know what it is. Sure. So it was an easy place for the political powers to be to attack because people know that there's really nothing dangerous about drilling a hole in the ground, So I think they probably thought it through and thought, well, that's probably not a good part of the industry to go after, and all of a sudden here comes this fracking word that no one knows what it is. And by the way, they all spell it wrong. It does not have a K in it.
It's almost at this point like if that's your biggest concern, you spell it how you want. I just want you to know what it does.
But I think that people just didn't have an understanding of what it was. And so I think that, the media and political powers sort of attacked that part of the industry just because it was unknown. And so it was an easy thing for someone in New York to kick back on their couch and go, they're right. Let's outlaw fracking and jump on board with that, not even understand what it is. It's almost as silly of a notion as saying we're gonna owning vehicles is fine, but we're gonna outlaw tires. So you can have all the cars you want, you just can't put tires on them.
No, they're doing
pretty much does no good, and so
they do that with everything in our nation. Is like, here's a thing that was perfectly legal yesterday, and today we're not outlawing the thing, but if we take away these key components, they can't use it anyway. I mean, it's a very subversive way to really control the population.
Yeah, I mean it's very intentional. I mean, there's thought that goes into what they do.
Years and years and years. Al Gore and many like him before, like, just let's make this catastrophizing, and like all of a sudden we're like, there's kids growing up thinking, that we're evil for what we do, which is bring affordable energy to, poor people.
Yeah. So without the oil and gas industry in the world, I mean, I think 1/3 of the world is electrified currently. So if 2/3 of the world's population, it's hard to imagine, doesn't even have electricity at their houses, and so or cars, and so as more of the population is getting electricity ran to their towns, and they're getting cars. I mean, the drive and need for energy is going up, and I understand that emissions are a thing. I mean, we see what happens in the 70s and 80s with smog in the cities, and so. What gets me is that we're sitting, especially here in Oklahoma, we should be proud of it, on the most abundant source of clean energy there is natural gas.
Oklahoma should be Dubai as far as our available resources in natural gas.
And I think
we got to build out the infrastructure. We got to have every well should have either a pipeline from it, or better yet, we do micro. I think that still going forward, the best scenario is microgrids, where if you have natural gas, you put that gas through a scrubber on location, and you power a generator, and then the powers that be stop monopolies on our energy sources and our power lines. Say, hey, if this well brings on gas and they run a generator, they are going to power that pad with their electricity, but everything left over, they can do several things with it. One being they can add it to the lines around them, and you can't tell them no. Forget it. This is going to be another source of affordable and abundant energy, to where everybody in our state has a lot better lifestyle and a lot easier access to energy wherever they're at.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing that we've got this much energy right under our feet, and we fight about using it.
Yeah.
And they have rolling blackouts in California and even in Texas, which is a huge oil and gas state.
No need for any of that.
No need for any of it. There's enough. We've got the technology and manpower to turn every bit of natural gas under our feet into energy source and use it, and then we don't have to use so much of our other resources that are more finite.
We can turn oil into products instead of oil into something that we burn.
Yeah, because I mean I'm not against the idea that eventually we'll run out, but 100 years ago,
there's so many, but that's just it. The science and science is, everybody's like, oh, the science says this and the science says that, and science is indefinite. That's why it's science.
Well, the only reason I say that is because 100 years ago, now it's 150 years ago, but they didn't even use oil or natural gas for anything.
Whale oil.
And
the only time in history that we swapped energy sources.
What if we only have 150 years left of reserves? I mean, odds are, that's the human nature, is to adapt and overcome, so I'm sure we'll figure out another source of energy within 150 years.
But that's just it. We need if we want another source of energy, that's fine. But it takes that 150 years to get on it now. You don't swap over your energy source until the other one's perfect and ready.
That's right. Yeah.
You give everybody like, hey, look, here's our goal. We hope to get there in 150 years. We're going to use fission. We're going to use nuclear fusion. Anything that's on the table, we'll go after with research and development. But that's how long it took us to be so efficient with oil and gas, is that 150 years. So we've got to have time to develop those resources and know how to use them.
Yeah, what blows my mind is green energy is just a word. There really is. There's nothing there.
The best marketer ever. You called it green.
Yeah, green energy. And you say, well, what is green energy? And people start talking about, well, it's electric this, electric that. Well, how's the electricity get generated in the first place? What's running the bulldozers in the mines out there?
What's going to get that copper out of the ground? And now the lithium.
Or melt it down.
You and I talked about that the other day. Everybody out there that has anything lithium in their house, I mean, you basically own children in a big, hole in the ground who are out there every day physically picking up pieces and putting them in a pile.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. I don't think they want us to know exactly how a lot of that stuff gets harvested.
But we've seen it. I mean, you don't have to fly over there and know. We have, video and audio to go prove all of our theories.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
It's sad.
So in the meantime, we'll just keep drilling and fracking wells, and
it's not going away. If you're watching this for the first time, invest in oil and gas. There is not going away. It's all. I'm so bullish and long in everything we do. 150 years at least, I'll be, set to enjoy all the resources that we're continuing to bring to the table. And we need more bodies now than we've ever needed in oil and gas. Mm-hmm. We need smart engineers. We need techs. We need scientists. We need experts in automation. For everything that we automate and everything that we program and every hammer we take away from our industry, from a guy that's not swinging that hammer anymore, that's 5 to 10 people we've got to replace that one guy with, because now it's an automation and an engineering and a programming and a robot and a computer. There's so many more people.
It's endless possibilities.
Endless amount of people we need.
Yeah,
endless amount. We need whatever we have. Go on LinkedIn. You can search, however many people are in oil and gas right now, and then all the threads of them out to all the other industries that supply the service companies, and the service companies supply the rig sites.
That's one thing I think people don't understand is how far those fingers stretch.
Forever.
From the land guy making the deal to staking the well to the rig showing up, and then the cement crew. I mean, you guys had Spinnaker out here in your yard earlier. And then the frac crew coming in, the guys setting the tank batteries, the guys laying all the pipelines, connecting all the well sites together and connecting to the main pipelines.
The refineries.
The guys hauling gravel to location out there. I mean, the tax dollars going into the county just from all the different revenue being generated here.
People living there, people driving there, eating there.
The taco truck that stopped by here this morning.
Oh my gosh, man. The Golden Burrito, you're welcome to be a sponsor on this podcast. I'll take free burritos. Those were really good. Oh, those are good.
But, it's an extremely vital part of the world economy, and it's a huge part of Oklahoma's economy, and I'm proud to be a part of it. I know you are. You're super connected with everybody. Just, if you're watching this, you're in college, and you're wanting to know what you want to do. I mean, the energy industry as a whole is just one of the neatest places to work. I can go anywhere in the world and run into somebody from Oklahoma that's working, that I've worked with in the past. I mean, you've done it, right?
Yeah.
Anywhere.
I don't care if you're laying tile or you work for Greenpeace. Come and talk to us, and we'll have a conversation. I mean, I don't want to battle people anymore about their ideologies. I want to educate. I want to have either a conversation or debate that's civil, and that we can exchange information and say, hey, look, here's your opinions, here's our facts.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it's such an important part, and there's no getting around it. I mean, we can have honest debates with one another about future plans and ideas, and when that stuff is developed, if it's competitive with oil and gas, guess what? It'll take over. Right now, there's nothing that's competitive with, it's the most economical way to create energy in the world right now. And, we all like to drive our cars and have air conditioning and plug something in and it work.
Yes.
Reliable power grid.
Flourishing to be, I want my kids to have a nicer environment than I did.
Yeah, that's the goal for every generation, and I think we're getting there. I think you take away the political powers that are causing tension between everybody.
It's noise and nonsense.
We all enjoy the benefits of energy every single day, and like I said, and you said at the start of this show, I mean, Oklahoma is super, super important to the grand scheme of things there.
I mean, on the funny, darker things that you and I talk about on our Oilfield After Dark ideas, we could go out and grab people that are against oil and gas and say, you know what, today is your lucky day. You have been chosen to be on our new reality show where we take everything petroleum based in your life and we drop you in the woods nude and you go and survive. And weird how those people like all of a sudden come very quickly to go, man, what an eye opener.
You can't even brush your teeth without the oil and gas industry because that plastic toothbrush is made out of oil.
Well, you can make natives, they get different plants, and they grind up the ends and it'd be kind of like a brushy thing. And I mean, very effective for, a short amount of time where you have all your teeth drop out of your head after a few short years. But hey man, if that's the way they want to live.
One cold shower would probably change their mind in the middle of winter.
Now listen. Oh man, I'm gonna get into some hippy dippy crap right now, okay? In the morning, I can't. Don't judge me, okay? I know you're gonna judge me, but
are you fixed to talk about your bathing habits?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
No, this is good for you. I want you to like look. You remember how fat I was? I was a big boy. I got up to 350 pounds. Okay, so you start learning about health, yada yada yada. But as I run and I eat healthy. One of the things that I found was I go outside in the morning and I put my bare feet on soil and grass and I stare at the sun for, a few minutes. So it really does. You guys can laugh all you want, but somehow, some way that connection to the earth and your feet recharge your body. Then you walk inside and you go get the coldest shower.
You don't do like naked yoga outside, do you?
I'm not answering that. No.
It'd be kind of weird if the neighbors got you.
It's kind of weird that you're thinking about me like that, but thank you. I appreciate it.
I mean, you're connecting with the ground. we go to, there's a guy up at, our family used to go, but we still go quite a bit up to Table Rock Lake. Yeah. And we were down there unloading the boat one morning. And it was a little community over there by Shell Knob. And here comes this guy with a beard, and he comes down there by this tree, just unrobes with a bar of soap and gets in the lake. And he lives down there, and this guy, he takes a bath down. He doesn't care who's around. He takes a bath in the lake every morning.
We'll get.
So my kids
we'll get to that age someday, buddy.
Yeah, they were like, Dad, what is this guy doing? I'm like, he's taking a bath in the lake.
He is one. He is connected to Earth.
So yeah, he was very connected.
I'm not that connected yet.
You're not that connected? No. You're just sort of plugged in. I
just want to plug in just my feet to the earth for a minute, and then go take a cold shower. I go jog every day, all that.
That's good.
Do all that. I need a little routine.
That's good. We're getting older, so we got to take care of ourselves.
I'm not going to get older. That's my.
I'm just going to stay the same age.
I refuse to get older. That's why I'll do if there's some hippy dippy stuff out there that to send me, I'll try it. So don't mess with me. I'll probably actually try it.
Yeah. Well, it happens,
So what's the future looking like for our industry? I mean, right now, so you're in particular, because we went to that talk the other day, and the guy was talking about how the money flows in oil and gas, as far as here's why you can go out to a private equity company and start a new oil and gas company, an exploration company. But if you're a service provider, now that oil and gas company needs 100 different services on the life of that well, and all these vendors, connected and doing all the things. So they need all those services, but service companies are strapped to go out and find capital right now to get up and going if there's no one in the market, nearby, or even, say there's plenty of service companies around, but they're all strapped too. Things fire back up. Hey, I don't have crews, I don't have equipment, I have, horsepower. So a guy's entrepreneurial, man, I'm going to go get a couple trucks, I'm going to get this thing going, Pharaoh. And then all of a sudden, well, where do I go get the capital? It's not there like it used to be. It
makes it tough, yeah.
It's tough.
And with interest rates being up as high as they are right now, and we're in the middle of a recession, whether anyone wants to say it or not out loud, and the country is.
We've got a election cycle coming up.
It's tough.
Guess what's tough on oil and gas? Election cycles. Mm-hmm. In my crystal ball view of things, this age, I see every single time, investors on the East Coast, West Coast are like, you know what, election cycle's coming up. oil and gas is about to get volatile again. My dollar isn't going hockey sticks up right now. I'm going to yank my money out and put it in this over here that always does well during elections. And then once it gets, boom or bust, here we go again. It's coming.
Yeah, it's a never-ending cycle. The politicians use it too, to their advantage.
Oh, sure. Why wouldn't you? And that's how you know that I'm a good Christian, is I vote against my own pocketbook, because you throw a Democrat in there to mess up everything. Oil and gas shoots through the roof. We're doing really good. And I'm like, crap. People are like, why don't you vote Democrat, Matt? You know they're going to jack everything up. Like, I just can't.
There's a true.
I look myself in the mirror.
True way, you know.
You're a working man.
Working man. Can't turn it off.
I'm surprised you haven't answered 10 texts right now. There's horsepower sitting there waiting to go out. I want to see you take a call from a customer or somebody. Let's watch this.
I'll wait and do that later.
How do you do what you do? That'd be fun. We should run like, some audibles in here. Like, hey, you go knock on that door, pretend I'm your customer, and you come in here and sell me Pharaoh.
It's easy for me to sell stuff. I've never thought of myself as a salesman. I still don't.
It's easy for me.
Well, you're the same way though, because I just love to visit and talk to people.
Yeah.
I probably drives my wife crazy, but anytime we're in a car, I call somebody just to see what's up, see what they're doing.
An hour later.
What's the kids doing, and that phone call will remind me of somebody else that I hadn't talked to in 2 months, and so I turn around and I call them and see what they're doing, and that reminds me of somebody else that I hadn't seen or talked to in 5 years, and so I'll call them. And
if we're driving to Houston, if we're driving to Midland, if we're driving to Denver, if we're driving to North Dakota, we'll have a lot of hours to bother people.
Yeah, I love talking on the phone to people.
I
love visiting with people, and I would say 90% of the phone calls I make, we don't ever talk about work.
No. We might. We'll probably talk about oil and gas and stuff related to events and
talk about fishing or the lake or kids or something. And
there's so much to do.
It's easy for me to stay connected with people. I don't mind doing the whole cold call, like the true salesman work.
It's a blast.
It's fun.
It's so much
you meet
fun.
New people. Yeah. I like when you call and then you realize that somebody you know really well works there. Like you're not sure who to talk to.
Like today, you saw, as soon as you got here, you're like, oh, I forgot you were here. I didn't know here.
Yeah. That's the fun part. You run into people that you've known forever, and you're like, I didn't know you were there.
Yep. Hey, we're going to kick ourselves if we don't mention it, but I just thought I needed a cup of coffee. So can I mention?
Yeah, let's go, man. Get after it.
Okay, so everybody in oil and gas, we have hobbies. I love the podcasting. And some of them turn into not just a hobby aficionado of lover of coffee, because he had to stay up so many hours every day drinking the stuff. He wanted good coffee. Guy went out and made his own coffee.
Crude coffee.
Oilfield coffee. It's a business that you have.
It's a business. Yeah, we sell a lot.
Beans and everything.
Yeah, we have whole bean and ground coffee, and we work with a company out of Tulsa. They have their own coffee farms in El Salvador.
It's delicious coffee. Yeah,
it's great. We got 8 different flavors. So yeah, if you're watching,
best coffee.
I'll plug it real quick. So go to Crude Coffee Inc. CrudeCoffeeInc.com. Check us out. My favorite is the GSD. Can we cuss on this show?
I would say it's allowable. I don't have a button next to me to turn it off.
So our GSD stands for Get Shit Done.
Get some stuff done.
Get some stuff done.
It's get shit done.
And so we blended 8 original blends Crude Coffee did, and we didn't really go. I didn't want to have like a pecan or certain flavors of coffee, but what I wanted to do is I wanted to make a blend of coffee that sort of tasted like you would expect something to taste at different areas or times of the oil and gas industry. So we've got one called Morning Glory.
Yep.
It's a really stout breakfast coffee. It tastes like breakfast coffee. It's super clean and crisp, and it's kind of what I expect. Wake up on a drilling rig, and that's what a cup of coffee should taste like. And then our GSD. There's just parts of the day, especially in what we do, and let's face it, you got to get shit done.
At 2 o'clock.
So we needed a cup of coffee that sort of wakes your mind up, wakes your taste buds up, does all that stuff. And so when I was meeting with a guy, and we were sort of blending different coffees together and beans together to come up with our flavor profiles, he said that he told me and my brother Trevor, he said, "No, this is something I've never done before. Like, you guys are trying to create a moment in this flavor instead of an actual flavor." He said, "I love this idea." So we had a lot of fun with it, and
It's so good. I'm so proud of you for that.
So you can order straight off our website. We'll ship it to your house. Direct mail it to you. We also do private label for companies, and so we make small little bags. And
that's cool.
Yeah.
I tell everybody, like, get his coffee. Don't be cheap and get the ground. Go get yourself a grinder at your house, guys. Get a grinder. Get the beans. Grind it yourself. Hey, the ground's good. It is.
So,
but the beans set it apart.
Yeah, and it's not bitter. I hate bitter coffee. So the burnt, bitter Starbucks coffee, I'm not a fan. So when we made all this coffee, I was like, this has to be smooth. It can't be bitter.
Yeah.
And it makes, when you make a really smooth coffee like that, it makes a really good cold brew too.
Oh.
So if you like cold brew, our coffee makes really good cold brew.
Nice to know.
So I've got a majority of my time is ate up with
cold brew.
Yeah. The GSD makes, I'm telling you, some of the best cold brew you've ever had.
I am craving coffee fantastic. So bad right now. I drink coffee with everything. There's nothing burritos in coffee.
I probably should mention too, so I've got 90% of my time is spent dealing with stuff with Pharoah currently, calling customers, lining stuff up. We're trying to get the new yard going in Hennessy, which is challenging and fun. I got a great group of guys working with me up there. And then,
where'd the name Pharoah come from?
A racehorse.
A racehorse. Okay. Good to know. I didn't know if it had some kind of Egyptian ties or.
Sounds cool too.
Pharoah sounds cool, and it's a cool logo.
Yeah, it is a cool logo. I like it. And then, so I've also got another company that I'm doing some work for, Seaside Energy, and we are doing geological mapping.
Okay.
So we've had about 6 different customers, and most of our customers are guys that have taken over a bunch of plugging wells from the state plugging license, and they just don't have a really good grasp of kind of where the tops and bottoms of all the formations are. And so I work with a guy, Galen Miller.
I know. Okay. I was just about to ask. I was like,
everybody knows Galen.
I was like, I just saw Galen's post yesterday. I was like, I know Seaside. I know Galen.
Yeah. So Galen works with me over there, and
I love. Hey, Galen, I know you're watching this. I love you, buddy.
Yeah, Galen's a great guy. Awesome geologist. He's got an extensive resume, and so we got up and going about 8 months ago with Seaside, and it's been going great. And so Galen goes in and he'll find the tops and bottoms of all the formations, and then kind of piece together stuff off different government websites and data websites, and kind of show you where there should be reserves and where there shouldn't be reserves. And
you gonna go drill your own well somewhere?
So we might. All right. It's definitely something that we're looking at.
So one of the things I'm hoping to do in the future is help people form LLCs that are not in oil and gas, but they support us. And like, hey, put some skin in the game, So you want to go be part of this? Well, we might need 5 or 6 groups of LLC investors, but here's 10 guys, and here's how much money they could raise, and here's another 10. But find companies like yours, like, hey, we're going to go drill well. We need some investors. Well, here's 5 LLCs, that I know of, Josh, that are ready to go do that.
Right.
We're going to have to go out and do it ourselves to raise capital for these projects because the big firms are shying off of oil and gas.
And so, like, one of the things that we do at Seaside to help our customers is, it's expensive to go out and hire, a geologist, put a geologist on staff, do things like that. So I would say one of our main projects we do, we're not a consulting company, but we do consult with guys to give them an idea. So Galen can go in and he can say, okay, there's this old hunting well in Lincoln County,
right?
And he can go in there and find tops and bottoms of everything and tell you, hey, there's these 3 other formations up hole here, and this one seems to be most likely candidate for recompletion. And a lot of these guys have no idea what that would cost them. So then I'll put together a cost estimate, and say, well, it's going to cost this much to re-enter the well and this much to perforate and frack and do all these things. And here's roughly what this project would cost, and then hand it over to them. And then they know how much money they need to raise for that project. And then those guys can take it to a consulting group and that's staffed up for that. But at least they have a target then, on what to go for.
That's so fun. I'm so proud of you.
Because I think a lot of people, and that's kind of why we started Seaside, because really just didn't know where to start. They've got all these wells, and we had a guy that thought, well, I don't want to recomplete a well that'll cost $800,000, and that, when it was all said and done, it was actually about 80 grand is all he had to spend. And so when he found that out, he hired a company, a consulting company. They went out, they did the work. It actually came in a little under the estimate that I'd put together, and
now it goes from producing this to producing this.
And then there's a lot of out-of-state guys too. If you're out of state watching this, you don't know who the service companies are. So that's something that me and Galen will do, is help connect you with rig companies, with wireline companies. I'll recommend a frac company with Pharoah.
I truly believe, as
connect, get numbers. It's really tough. There's not a phone directory for oil and gas companies, so to speak, and then even there sometimes is, but you don't know who to speak with there.
Yep.
And so I think being in those different areas, just being here and working in the state, really well connected. I know people at about every company in Oklahoma, and so it's fun to just jot a few names down and start the process and say, here's a great consulting company, this guy, they do this type of work, here's a good rig company, and gives these people kind of because I think if some of these guys, if you have a whole bunch of projects, almost like cleaning out your garage, like where do you start? And so when you give somebody that starting point, and that's what we try to do at Seaside Energy, is give them that starting point so they can say, okay, well here's our starting point, and then they take off and do the projects.
I'm so excited for that part of our industry to really kick off. I mean, as we have turmoil in the markets and it's hard to go out and drill, these super projects, we have a ton of small operators with a lot of wells that, hey, we may not go drill any new wells, but we've got 100 wells they're starting to decline. Come to you. Let's go get them, let's go take them from 3 to 6 or 6 to 12, let's go 50 to 100 barrels. We can do it. Don't first thing off, is like let old wells go into the nether and plug and abandon.
And you don't have to hit a 500 barrel a day well. If you take a 3 barrel a day well and make it a 7 barrel a day well,
that's great. I'll take 4 of those and sit back, and that's what I'll do. I'll sit out there every day. Everybody, my podcast studio will be at my my 4 wells and my few barrels. So I'm off to the races.
And that's exciting. It's exciting to do that. And then being here with Pharoah, I've got a lot of other resources too there to kind of help these guys out, and that's a lot of fun. There's people from out of state that come in and buy properties, just don't know how to get connected, and then sometimes they want to sell the wells, and so you can recommend different people that are looking, and it's fun. I love to stay connected. I love that part of the industry. I always have, and it's a lot of fun to be doing that, and I'm really excited to have Galen. If you've never met Galen, you need to meet him. He's an interesting guy.
Yeah, everybody is. That's why I had you in here. You're always fascinating.
We were at a clay shoot the other day, and
he likes to clay shoot.
He loves to clay shoot, and he's a much better shot than me.
Yeah, he is. But you're at basketball all the time, so you don't get to practice.
We're a little busy.
We're not saying the same amount of hours, same circumstances. You might be a good shot too.
Yeah, that's right.
You got to go.
I got to go.
I'm getting you out of here, guys. Josh and Pharoah, please follow them on LinkedIn. I'm going to tag him in this, and of course, go use him in your services and his coffee, Seaside and Crude Coffee. And
there you go.
There's so much about you that we have yet to peel back. I said we'd get to some layers of this onion, but we got more. So you're always welcome in here, and or be a co-host. Bring me a guest. We can have 2 chairs. We can have 4 chairs. We'll figure as many people as we want or as few as we want.
Sounds like a deal.
All right, love you, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Take care. God bless. We'll see you next time. And thank you for all the sponsors for Oilfield Tailgate. Go to oilfieldtailgate.com. Usually my podcast studio is at Trace Management, so go check out Trace Management, Night Fire Specialists, and man, so many people do go out and be part of. See you next time.
See you guys.
Bye.